Nick Kivlen from Sunflower Bean, and now about to put out your first solo album in July, Addicted to the Sunset. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling really good. Yeah, I'm excited.
There's been two songs from it released so far. What's been the reaction to the first couple songs?
I didn't really have any expectations, and I feel like that's a really great place to be as an artist.
Yeah.
Usually, you have your nightmare scenarios and then you have your wildest dreams, and you always end up somewhere in the middle of those two things.
Yeah.
But for this release, I'm doing it so much on my own terms and in such a way that almost any reaction or any listens or anything that comes from it is like, in that like wildest dreams territory because it feels like an impossibility to like do this by yourself, or it feels like something that's like not viable, but to like do it and start having a little bit of success, even if it's just 100 streams on the first day or like whatever, it's like still, really exciting.
So you've made a lot of solo music before, but this is the first stuff you're actually releasing to the world. Why did now feel like the right time to do that?
Yeah, well, when you're a musician who is always creating, like 99% of the work that you make is just for you. Like no one's going to hear most of the music you make. And that I found to be true from like the smallest artist all the way up to like the biggest stars in the world, that most music doesn't get released. And most of the time you have to be making it from a place of like it being for you and like you getting something out of that creative process. And I have just spent, the last, decade plus of my life with Sunflower Bean releasing albums that were all very professionally made and through a record label. And this year we had a little break, and I've been recording the most music I've ever recorded. And I just had the intention last summer of doing something at home in my own way that I could not only use as like a learning experience and like as a like proof of concept because I produce other artists,
Yeah.
but also just to be like, yeah, like I'm at the place in my life where I can just make albums at home and be completely satisfied with them. And I thought it would be like a fun challenge to like do everything that a label would do just myself.
Hmm. Oh, that's interesting. So you're not even trying to get this on a label. You're trying to just make this a true solo project.
Yeah, I never even attempted to go to any labels. I didn't want anything to do with that. I just really wanted to try it my own way.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. So what was the songwriting process like first? Like, did you write the songs as you were making the album in the studio, or did you have the songs already ready?
I got home from tour. Sunflower Bean did an entire US tour in June of last year. And the entire time I was kind of like thinking about like what kind of record I wanted to listen to that summer. And that's usually where I start my like creative like conceptualizing, like what's a record that I want to listen to that doesn't exist or like there aren't
Hmm.
that many examples of. And when I got home from tour, I had a lot of free time, and I sort of just thought of it as like, with my like setup at home, I have the recording capabilities that are better, that even 30 years ago you would have needed an entire studio to have these recording capabilities, even with a modest setup at home.
Yeah.
And I just thought I'm going to treat every single day like I'm waking up in a recording studio and just get to work.
Hmm.
So the songwriting process was I would write the song mostly that morning, and then within by like the second half of the day I would start recording it.
Oh wow. How many songs did you have? Were there a lot that didn't make, because the album's only 10 tracks, very tight.
Mhm.
So how many songs got left off?
I recorded 29 to like the 80% completion, and then I took the last like I think 11 and got them to 100%.
Hmm. So with the doing everything yourself, how did that feel like? Nobody's telling you what's going to go on the album, like you're deciding everything. Was that hard or was that freeing?
It's something that I've always done. Like I've made, like I said earlier, like I've made so much music by myself, but in a funny way, it kind of felt pretty normal. Like it wasn't like a great, departure from anything. I mean, it's obviously really different than being in a band with two other people and then a producer and a manager and like always
Right.
having things bouncing off. But I have a few people in my life that I send everything, or not everything, but like almost everything that I think is good. I'll send it to them and get their feedback. And, Julia is one of those people. So it's like she was still, in my ear about certain things. And I did choose some of the songs based off what she said and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it wasn't like, yeah, too different.
No, that's funny. Yeah, I think that's cool when bands like they record solo albums, but then it's like all the band members appear on the album. Or I think you had said like the microphone you used for this album is Julia's microphone, so
Yeah, it was.
you just can't escape the influence of the band.
Yeah. I guess the biggest difference was like the pressure was so much lower where when you're making a record and there's a budget and there's other people involved and there's like professional or monetary like stakes riding on it, you might feel like a little bit intimidated to be like, okay, I have this like piece of junk snare that I borrowed from someone and I'm like hitting it in this room and there's no sound. Like, is this really like worth like, the production value? So there was just no pressure in that way.
Yeah, I mean that's gotta feel amazing. Um, Going back a little bit to that tour, I saw you on that tour in Chicago. You went to Sleeping Village. I got to meet Julia, but you weren't at the merch stand, so we didn't get to meet, unfortunately. But I did meet Julia. But
Uh-huh.
I just thought that show was amazing. Let's talk a
Thank
little bit
you.
about how was that tour? I mean, you guys just sounded incredible live. What was that tour like?
Thank you. That tour was so much fun. That's actually one of my favorite tours we've ever done. And a big part of that has to be being with Gift, who are a really dear friend of ours. And they're also an amazing band. And I was actually just thinking about that tour a lot because it's been a year since it happened. And
Yeah.
it was really long and we were traveling like as a caravan. It was the most integrated I've ever felt with like the other band we're on the road with.
Mm,
And I think that's really important to like have friends around and a lot of like community when you're on the road because it's such a isolating place. So the fact that we had like this big band to like travel with and like stay at Airbnbs with, and we were even like riding in each other's vans, like it just was like a really, really fun tour.
yeah, that's so fun. Yeah, I forgot to mention that that band was great too. And
Yeah.
it was a really like I love that when you see a band, you're like, oh, I can tell that like they picked this band on purpose. Like this is such a good match for opener and headlining band. It was really good. Um, what is that like when you're touring as kind of like a indie band, basically? Like you're doing Airbnbs? Are you ever sleeping in the van? Like how does that process work when you're booking that?
Well, I'm very thankful that we got all the sleeping in basements and sleeping on floors out of the way when we were in our teens for the most part.
Yeah.
Because, it still is something that's really taxing, but I think when you grow up doing it and then you reach a certain level where it's like, okay, we can afford hotel rooms now. So at least at the end of the night, there's going to be a place to shower and, just veg out for a little bit and not have to like go back to like a punk house and hang out with someone until 3 in the morning and then like sleep on like their futon. But, it's physically, it's a lot of driving. I mean, the logistics of getting 4 or 5 people across the country with like all the gear is like, a lot. And depending on what time of year it is, it can be easier or more difficult. For instance, like on that tour, when we were driving across South Texas, there was like this flash flood
Oh,
and we
wow.
pulled like off into this town and it was rain like, I had never seen before. It was just amazing. And luckily everything was fine, but there's a lot of variables when you're going across such a big country.
When I moved to Illinois, I drove from California to Illinois and I drove through like Oklahoma and Texas, and there were these like crazy rainstorms where I was like, I can't even see. You just have to like pull over because you can't even
Yeah.
drive. It's like nothing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been in a storm like that before.
I don't know how people live there. What was were there any places you went on this tour that you hadn't been before?
Um, I think Denton, Ohio. I mean Denton, Texas.
Oh, okay.
I'm hoping I'm getting that right. It was a town that was I think outside of Dallas, like a small college city. I'm pretty sure it was Denton.
Okay. Yeah,
I
that
can't remember. I mean, it was a year ago now, but it was a really, really cool, like small college town, and the show was sold out, and it was at this awesome venue, like in the desert behind the train tracks.
Oh, cool.
That was awesome.
Yeah. Are you planning on touring the solo album?
I'm gonna, s- yeah, I would love to do like some West Coast dates.
Hmm.
Right now I've only played two shows with my solo project, and I don't have a drummer. I have a percussionist instead, and the way it's arranged right now is acoustic. I'm on acoustic, and then I have a few other instruments that I'm playing as well. And then I have a guitarist named Blake who's really phenomenal. He's playing electric. And then my friend Thomas has been doing percussion and bongos and rain stick and kind of has like a Richie Havens, like Donovan kind of vibe.
Oh, love it.
I
Hey,
wanted the setup to be like a little bit more malleable than like a standard rock band. Like I wanted to be able to play like in backyards and coffee shops and small places and like not have to compete with a drum kit, like to be able to like sing and hear the lyrics like in small spaces.
yeah. Yeah, that's funny you mentioned Richie Havens because I was definitely picking up on a lot of like late 60s folk influences, kind of like dream pop, like maybe 80s, 90s dream pop, but then there's a lot of that 60s folk stuff. What kind of stuff from that era were you listening to?
Uh, that was pretty much that was like a big part of the influence was one song in particular was The Dolphins by Fred Neil, which I was just really obsessed with that song for its production and the way that it is an acoustic song with this tremolo guitar that is so lo-fi sounding but so effective, and the lyrics are really simple but also very powerful and evocative, and they use nature and mystery and fate like in this really simple way with this simple arrangement that's like super moving.
Yeah. Um, One other thing I want to talk about on tour. It's going to kill me if I don't ask this. When I saw
Yeah,
you in Chicago, do you by any chance remember the last song that you guys did? It might have been a cover. It was like a very up-tempo song, and then I went to Setlist FM and said like unknown.
I think it's this one song that we've been playing for like 5 years that we've never released a recording of.
Okay, what is the name of that song? It was
I
so
think
good. I was like, this is the
it's
one song I don't
still
know.
untitled for now.
Okay, release that for me because it was great. I
Okay.
was like, that sounds
We don't even have a recording, I don't think.
no.
We just play it live. It's kind of just like our fast encore song.
Yeah. Oh, it was so good. I was
Thank
like,
you.
is this a cover that I should know? I was like, I'm gonna look dumb if I ask what that song was. If it was
No,
like, all right, good. That makes me feel better. But I loved that song.
thank
Um,
you.
oh, speaking of tours, I want to ask too about you went on tour with Eve Toomer in Europe.
Hmm.
What was that like? How did that come about? How did they reach out to you to do that?
I don't want to talk about it too much because it's still a very new thing, but we have just been like kind of in proximity. We have some mutuals, and we had worked with the producer and music director Eve Rothman, and he just gave me a call and asked me if I wanted to do it, and I was like, absolutely, yeah, it sounds
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. You guys have toured Europe, I'm sure. What was the experience like this time? Not being your own band.
It was pretty similar. We were actually playing like some the same cities that we had played just on our last tour, one of the same
Hmm.
venues that we had played back in December. Um, I used all my own equipment, so it really just, felt pretty seamless.
Very familiar, yeah. That's kind of cool. I always like it when an artist I like is like, oh, now you're touring with this band. Like, I don't even know Ted Leo, but he's like one of my heroes.
Hmm.
He was like toured with Gang of Four, and I was like, oh my God, I love Gang of Four, and Ted Leo's just going to be the touring guitarist for Gang of Four. I don't know. I always think that's
Yeah,
cool
who's
when that
Ted
happens.
Leo?
So he was in this kind of mod punk band in the 90s called Chisel, and then he went solo. It's very kind of like small faces jam kind of punk
Okay,
rock,
cool.
but he's from DC. Um,
Ah, okay. An American.
he's an American, yeah, but he has a band still called Ted Leo and the Pharmacists. But
Okay, cool. I'll check them out.
I love it. It's very different than the stuff you do, but it's the songwriting is really good. I think you would dig it.
Cool, I'll
Um,
check it out.
yeah. It was yes. So speaking of songwriting, I am loving the songs on this album. It feels a lot to me. I loved the song on the last Sunflower Bean album. The last song on that album, uh,
Yeah.
Sunshine. Is that
Yes.
okay? There's sunshine. There's starlight. There's a lot of like sun and like sunset, kind of vibes to this record.
Hmm.
So this record, I don't know, felt a lot to me like an extension of that song. This kind of
Uh-huh.
dreamy and felt like being about your experience moving to LA. So maybe just talk about that a little bit. Like you're a New Yorker, but now you live in Los Angeles, and this feels like a very oceany, beachy,
Oh yeah.
sunset, sunny vibe kind of record.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I've always been someone who's really affected by weather. Like I love sunny days. I hate overcast. Like it really affects my mood. And you know, I think that is coming from a lot of different places. I mean, I had taken that summer tour and then I got back to LA and me and my girlfriend went on a road trip up the coast to Big Sur, where she is from. And then after that, we went to San Francisco. And the entire time, I was just kind of like formulating this idea of what I wanted to do musically that summer. And a big reference point for me is Forever Dolphin Love by Conan Moccasin. It's an album that meant a lot to me when I was in high school. And
Mm.
just the time that I was like growing up in Brooklyn, like I feel like a lot of the indie rock at that moment was based around like sort of in a weird way, it was based around beach. There was a lot of bands called Beach. There was a
Beach
lot of
House,
bands,
yeah.
Beach House, Beach
Yeah,
Fossils, Waves, Best Coast, like Girls, like all these like bands that were very influenced by like Sunshine Pop and
yeah.
just had this really feel good quality. And I was really young when that stuff was coming out. Like I kind of missed it in a way. Even by the time I was like really gigging in Brooklyn, it had already become much more focused on like shoegaze and post punk.
Hmm.
But yeah, those all those albums had like a really big influence on me. And a lot of the trends in music right now, especially in like the indie spaces, is very dark and minor
Mm.
and really foreboding and moody. And I definitely still have like an affinity for like happy sounding music. And most of the songs on the album are major, which is I feel like sort of a difficult thing to do to make something. It's really hard to write in major keys and have it not sound cheesy. So that's something that I really aspired to.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's where I was hearing, the kind of 60s influence because there are some tracks that are like, oh, this is poppy, this is happy. Um,
Yeah.
and then even the kind of dreamier ones kind of depends on your mood. If I'm happy, those dreamy songs can be like, oh, this is like a, beautiful sunrise. And, if I'm depressed and like this, I feel just kind of,
I'm really happy to hear that because that is something that is super important to me. And I feel like that's almost like the influence that I get from Elliott Smith, who's like one of my
mm,
top favorite songwriters. And just that way that it goes from major to minor and then back to major. And I don't really find most of Elliott's music that depressing. Like it's almost like a Rorschach test. And like I'm so close to it that I feel like it reaches this other emotion that is like way more complicated and way more, like you were saying, like subject to mood and in a gray zone where it's happy and sad at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like with him, people kind of put the story and like project that onto the music when, yeah, you're right. It is a lot more complex than that. And yeah, that's a great. I can hear that now that you say that, I can definitely hear that influence too. Um, but
Not to say that Elliot wasn't completely mopey and miserable a lot of the time, but
but yeah,
you know,
but it's not one note. I think people think like, oh, this is just, sad bastard music. But no, it's
yeah.
you can listen to it, in different ways. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of my favorite music is like that. Is I can use it for different things. I mean, even Sunflower Bean. I think when I did the story on you guys for my channel, I kind of
Mhm.
did a different thing than I'd ever done before, and kind of brought my personal life into it. But I was like, I don't know,
I
it felt like,
remember that. I loved that. It was
yeah, it's
such an
like
awesome video.
thank you. But yeah, it just like felt right for the story. Um, but I was 2016 was like the weirdest year. Like I went through this really bad breakup, or the breakup had already happened, but I was still in the aftermath of that, and I was, kind of depressed. But then there were also like, breakup sometimes is happy. Like I was depressed, but then there would be days I was like elated because I was like, "Ah, I'm free." And then
Mhm.
at the end of that year is when I met the woman that became my wife, and it was this like very up and down year. Like I'm living in Chicago when the Cubs won the World Series, and it's like, oh my God, the city is like incredible. Even though I don't even like baseball, but
Yeah, I kind of remember that.
it was incredible. And then a couple weeks later, Trump was elected, and it's like, oh well, this is the worst thing that could have happened. It's like
hmm
such highs and lows. Um, but that whole year, I was listening to that Sunflower Bean record, and I was like, it really fit. Like, if I'm happy, easier said is like triumphant, and if I'm sad, it's like I can get into the way this makes me feel. So it's I think that you're right that that's like the best kind of music is it can fit your mood and can adapt that way. And yeah, I'm definitely feeling that on the new record too.
Thank you.
So you kind of mentioned at the beginning, like you have your fantasies about like what's going to happen. What's like the wildest dream?
I mean, I don't, I guess I don't really, with this project at least, I don't really have one. I just am really, it's kind of already come true in a lot of ways, when, you know, I'm just so happy with the art and that is what's really guiding me. And
Hmm.
I'm even excited to do like anything related to it, whether it's like, interviews or even just to have people to hear it because it just felt for a long time that like almost everything I made, no one ever heard.
Yeah. I mean, is it scary to like be that vulnerable to be like, "Oh, this is a thing I made just on my own. I can't like hide behind the band."
Not really. I feel like the part of myself that has any like hesitation or embarrassment or like humility has really been like beaten out of me at this point. Like I was actually thinking about that recently because I was like, almost never, I would say when I've almost never get stage fright. Like the only
Hmm.
time I ever have experienced stage fright in like the last 10 years is performing solo acoustic by myself.
Really?
And I just did a couple of open mics and got over it, but that feeling was so foreign to me. And then the day that I announced my solo album, I had like this one moment of being like, wow, I'm really about to like hit post and like have this like be out there. And then I was like, the only person who really cares about that stuff is you. Everyone else has their own life and everything going on with them. And the most you can hope is that they enjoy the art you're making and it makes their lives better. So I really, not really. I mean, there was that 1 second where I was like, wow, this is really about to happen. Like, I'm really about to like, and I hadn't showed many people the album cover, and I was really excited about the album cover. My girlfriend Mika shot the photo and then made it. So
Oh, cool.
yeah,
What?
I guess there was one moment of like a little bit of like an overwhelming feeling, and then it quickly went away.
Yeah. Okay. Wait, so you did open mics Like recently with solo?
Y- yes, yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. What was that like? Where did you do the open mics at?
I don't really want to say the spot because I love
Okay.
it so
You might
much, and
go back. Okay.
it's kind of like an amazing hidden gem. And I'll just say it's in Los Angeles,
All right. All
and
right.
it's a place that is so magical and amazing. And yeah, I basically my friend told me about it, and I went with him, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna do this. And then I went and did it like maybe like a half a dozen times, and I've gone just to watch. I've met a collaborator who I'm working a lot with now there,
Oh, cool.
and yeah, I love open mics. I love going to like stuff where it's like I used to go to this one comedy open mic like every day in New York, but
Oh, really?
yeah,
Just to watch the open micers? Like, did you ever do stand-up comedy?
I thought about it and I was writing a lot, but I never actually felt like it was something that was right for me to do. And I would usually be the only audience member. So eventually they would be like, are you gonna go up? And I'd be like, no, I'm just watching.
That's funny. I did I did two open mics in Chicago doing stand-up and it was horrible both times. The once it was like just kind of a bucket list thing. I wanted to try it. So I went on my birthday and it was like I don't know, a birthday present to myself. And it was like the saddest thing ever. Like I
Really?
went and you had to like sign up on the sign up sheet I didn't know. And so I was like everybody had signed up already. So I was like way towards the bottom. So I had to sit through just like an hour of the worst stand up you've ever heard in your life. It was all so
Hmm.
bad. And then I was like, okay, there's only like three people left. I'm going to be one of these. And they went through everything and they never called my name. And I had to go up and be like, hi, I signed up on the sheet. You never called me. And they're like, oh, sorry, we missed you. Okay, go ahead. And so I like went up and did it for like the person that I was with and the host and like one other comedian who was performing who stayed. So embarrassing,
Okay.
so
Were
bad.
you less
I
nervous
did it.
though?
Yeah, I'm similar to you. I do not get stage fright. I'm like a
Hmm.
weird, I'm just like an introvert that loves attention. Like
Hmm.
I don't love to talk to people in person, but yes, I want to like be on stage. So I did Second City here in Chicago, and I've done like a lot of sketch shows and improv shows, and I put my face on TikTok for
Yeah, I mean,
thousands of
talking
people
to
to see.
camera, I find really difficult. I find it really difficult to like just talk straight to camera.
Yeah, I don't know. That's like never bothered me, so it's very strange. But man, it was a very
That's
humbling experience
awesome.
doing those. Then I went back. I was like, okay, I got to try again, and I went back like the next week, and I was
Hmm.
still towards the bottom, and it was also bad. I was like, you know what, stand up is not for me, but I'm glad I tried it.
Yeah.
Uh, but I
Well, that's the funny thing about open mics is that they're usually like 3 to 4 hours long.
so long, and like there were a couple of people who were good, but it was just a lot of like angry ranting, and it's
Hmm.
like this is
Hmm.
you didn't try to write jokes, you just wanted a microphone.
The
Um,
thing that I noticed the most from going to so much open mics in Brooklyn is that everything was auto fiction. Everything like people weren't really writing jokes or premises. Like it was almost
mm,
all about the yourself and your life.
yeah,
And I was, I really like comedy and art that kind of like creates a universe and like throws away from that and like explores other things. So like all the just observations about your life and how you feel was like the thing I was like, this is really just what's happening in this moment in Brooklyn.
yeah, yeah. Um, what kind of stuff do you like? And it's interesting to find out that you like comedy. Like, what kind of interests do you have outside of music?
Um,
Like, you're a
I
Knicks
guess
fan? Does that mean anything to you?
no, sports is the thing that like is not for me at all. I don't know, I have a lot of interests outside of music. My girlfriend's an art writer, and
Cool.
she really broadens my horizons in terms of like contemporary art and like the theater scene and performance art and things like that. And that's one of the greatest things about like, coming up in Brooklyn around like the early 2010s. There was like such an integration of like all these different things. Like as much as the music, there was also politics and alternative lifestyles and just like different ways of doing it yourself. And the thing that I've really been obsessed with for like the past like year or so is like historical narrative novel, or not, I guess they're novels, but like narrative nonfiction is like
Okay,
my
cool.
obsession. I've been really obsessed with this author Richard Preston,
Okay,
who wrote these like three books about Ebola and smallpox, and that's like what I'm
interesting.
like really obsessed with right now.
Oh, interesting. My wife read a book about Ebola that she's like always talking about.
It's probably the one that I read. It's
Yeah, I
kind of like
wonder.
the definitive book. It's called Hot Zone.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That is the one. Okay.
I think it's one of the most compelling books I've ever read. Like the first chapter almost made me like vomit and pass out, and then the rest of the book was such like the way he uses like this like natural like phenomenon to like talk about like things that are like bigger concepts and like contextualize like all of life through like virology is like really poetic and awesome.
Yeah, yeah. And now I got to read it. She's been trying to get
It's
me to
it's a
read it.
page turner. It's not
Yeah,
something that like you'll like slog through. It's like the kind of thing like once you pick it up, you can't put it down.
yeah. Um, you've mentioned your girlfriend a lot. How long you guys been together?
It'll be 5 years this month,
Oh,
actually.
okay. Yes. How did you guys meet?
We met in New York like right after the pandemic ended and people were going out again.
Okay.
Like,
You said you
yeah,
met in person?
yeah. We just went on one date and that was it.
That's exciting. And then did she move with you to California?
Yeah, yeah. We moved here about 2.5 years ago.
Oh, that's exciting. Is any of her influence in this new record?
Yes, I think she's maybe like one of the major
Hmm.
influences because I really wanted to make something. She kind of has like cooler music taste than me in a lot of ways. Like she doesn't have as much like classic rock baggage.
Hmm. Okay.
And her music taste was really developed when she worked at this coffee shop in San Francisco. She had like other coworkers that turned her on to a lot of stuff. And then when me and her met, she showed me a lot of stuff that I had never heard before. Like she showed me that song by Fred Neil that I was talking about
Oh, wow.
earlier.
Okay, cool.
Um, Her favorite artist is Arthur Russell, and he was a big
Love
inspiration
it.
too, of
Yeah.
course, because it's like, the person who just makes all their home recordings and never releases them and does it just for the love of the game.
Yeah. That's the best when you first get together and you like get to tell the other person about all the your favorite music that they might not know
Oh
and
yeah, I
vice
feel like that's
versa.
like a major part of like dating is like
Yeah,
that.
that's the best. Um, you also talked about on this record that it's really about like music community and like kind of getting back to like a local scene. What's the scene like in Los Angeles right now?
It's cool. There's a lot of like different cliques, I would say. And then there's the industry, which is like all the writers and all the producers and all the people gunning for the pop stardom. But yeah, no, I think LA has like a really cool DIY culture. There's like a great like noise avant-garde scene. There's a really awesome power pop scene. A lot of people who I hang out with are involved in the power pop scene, which is like
Oh, cool.
ridiculous and fun.
Yeah.
There's a really thriving singer-songwriter folk scene that does a lot of stuff out here. There's like the heavier shoegaze scene. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff going on. There's a lot of
Yeah.
backyard venues and gallery shows and stuff like that.
That's fun. And you've been like producing some artists. Who
Hmm.
are some artists you've worked with?
I don't want to say yet because I don't really like talking about stuff until it happens.
Okay, okay.
But it's mostly younger artists, smaller artists, a lot of really amazingly talented people.
I guess then like
Um,
what do you look for in a like an artist that you want to produce?
I think there's like a combination of things, and certain people have more, like different skill sets, and if I think that maybe I can help them just basically be a bandmate to them and help
Mm,
them in the areas that maybe they need help with. Like that's kind of mostly what I look for is like if I think that like it would be a good fit for our different skill sets.
yeah. Is there anything like you wish that you had when you were a young up and coming band that you're trying to give to these people?
For me, I would say it's like my singing voice. When especially when I was younger, when I was in my early teens, like or early 20s, I feel like I really didn't have much control over my voice or my tone or anything like that. And that's why it was so amazing to be with Julia, who was like this incredible like prodigy singer.
Right.
And I feel like that it's really helpful to like know what your limitations are.
Did you do any like vocal lessons or anything like that to get better, or has it just been over the years learning?
I think it's been like a maturing thing. I took vocal lesson. Me and Julia actually took vocal lessons together back in like 2017,
Hmm.
and I learned a lot of techniques that helped. And then it kind of was just like a practice, and recording yourself will help you really like understand what like the right range is. And I still am not the greatest singer, but like I have like the range that I go into where I can have control and whatever.
Yeah. So speaking of Sunflower Bean's not done. There's going to be a new record. I heard a rumor. When do you think that's going to happen?
I'm not exactly sure, but you know, we're always working and always bouncing ideas off of each other. And Julia just had her solo album come out. Um, I think, you know, we've been writing even a little bit last year and not as much this year, but we're gonna get back together soon. So,
Yeah. What about Olive? What's Olive doing? Is she going to do a solo record too?
well, she has another band that she's been doing for a couple of years.
Okay. But
Yeah.
not a home all by yourself project like yours.
No, I know she makes a lot of music by herself at home, but no, she has a band that she's a part of called Stars Revenge.
All right. What are you hoping that people get out of this record? What are you hoping that the experience is like for people?
You know, that's always a funny question because almost everyone asks that at the end of the interview. And I feel like it's kind of like I always say like I don't really, you know, whatever anyone gets out of it at all, I'm happy if you even listen to it and have any thought about it. But for me, it's kind of just like, you know, I think the season that it's being released in is really important. I hope that people, if they're in the mood to listen to something that has a very like heat wave, splashy, drippy, wet like vibe, like I feel like it would be a good album for like a road trip or something, summer road trip vibe.
Yeah, love it. All right, Nick, thank you so much. I really
Thank
enjoyed talking,
you.
but I appreciate your time and good luck with the record.
Thank you so much. It's great to talk again.
Yeah, you too.